Hello, I'm Karen Giannoni. We begin with news of a huge earthquake, one of the strongest recorded in modern history, which has triggered tsunami warnings across large parts of the Pacific. Evacuations are underway in Japan, Hawaii, and some parts of the US West Coast, as a magnitude 8.8 earthquake off Russia's far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula has triggered tsunami warnings right across the Pacific Ocean. It was tsunami alerts of varying levels issued in parts of China, the Philippines, Indonesia, Guam, Peru and the Galapagos Islands off Ecuador. Russia says it was the largest quake recorded in the region in more than 70 years, with tsunami waves as high as 3 to 4 meters reported in Kamchatka. These pictures show tsunami waves crashing on to the coastal town of Severo-Kurilsk in Russia's Kuril Islands. Waves of half a metre have been recorded in parts of Japan. Authorities there are warning subsequent waves may be bigger. Evacuation warnings span hundreds of kilometres of that Pacific coast. Workers at the Fukushima nuclear power plant, the site of a major disaster after a tsunami in 2011, have been moved to higher ground. The highest level of tsunami warning, as well as an evacuation order, is in effect in Hawaii. Authorities there say the biggest waves are likely to start making impact in a couple of hours' time. And we're just hearing that a 6-foot wave has passed through the Midway Atoll Island between Japan and Hawaii. The governor of Hawaii says he's still expecting significant waves. He will only give the all clear when he feels it's completely safe. Well, let's speak to our Los Angeles correspondent, Peter Bowes. Peter, you're keeping a close eye on the west coast of the United States and Hawaii. Tell us the latest.
Well, yes, and I've been closely watching images coming out of Hawaii in the last hour, because the initial prediction was that at some point over the last 45 minutes or so that they would see signs of a tsunami coming into in the Pacific off the coast of the Hawaiian Islands, and that's exactly what they've been seeing. Now, there's been nothing catastrophic, but there's certainly erratic behaviour in the currents of the Pacific, sometimes seeing the water receding suddenly from a beach only to see the waves coming back in, which is a typical sort of preemptive behaviour of the ocean ahead of a tsunami. And what the experts are saying is that this kind of erratic behaviour could last for several hours, and the worst, if indeed the worst is to come, may be several hours away. So it's going to be some time. It's going to be a very long night in Hawaii before the all clear can be given. And the same applies to here in California. Clearly the danger isn't as acute in California, or indeed other western states, Oregon, Washington, indeed Western Canada as well, where there are also warnings, also Alaska, where there's been a warning for several hours. And we've seen the same kind of behaviour in terms of people being told to get away from the beaches, to get away from the coastline, to get to higher ground where it is safe. And largely people have been heeding those warnings.
And I suppose, Peter, Hawaii is first in the path of any potential tsunami crossing the Pacific, the furthest west point of the United States.
Yes, exactly. And that's why we're watching closely to see what kind of behaviour we see from this tsunami in Hawaii, in those Hawaiian Islands. And that could well be a good sign in terms of what's to come or what's not to come for California in particular. But the experts here are saying that whatever happens, it's unlikely that there'll be any kind of catastrophic impact or damage on the California coastline.
Peter, thank you for the moment. Peter Bowes in Los Angeles. And let's just tell you the latest that we've been seeing. The live page the BBC website has up and running right now has every development that we are monitoring, because it is one of the strongest earthquakes in modern history, and that has meant evacuations in so many places around the Pacific, Japan, Hawaii, the US West Coast. It was a magnitude 8.8 quake, and it hit the far east of Russia, the Kamchatka Peninsula, causing waves there. We are hearing and seeing reports of and widespread flooding. We've also been seeing videos online of the ground shaking, people actually being falling over because of the force of the earthquake. And the extent of the damage and what is going on there is still emerging. But let's hear from Kelsey Shepherd, who is a local resident in Hawaii, evacuating from her home in North Shore. And she's been speaking to us from Hawaii, and she received a tsunami warning while she was live on air.
The current situation right now is there's been a tsunami threat, and the National Weather Service has issued a tsunami warning, and sirens have been sounded across the state. And we've just been advised to move out if you are in those coastal areas that will be impacted. And we got some emergency alerts. We've had 3, one at 2:44 Hawaiian Standard Time, 3:24, and then one about like 15 minutes ago. I wouldn't say we were prepared for this, but we did have a tsunami watch about a week ago. And so for my husband and I, immediately we packed up our 75-hour bags, and we are just hoping that all the families can stay safe and get to high ground, and hopefully the tsunami will not be harmful to Hawaii and everywhere around the world.
Yeah, and the government has far less resources in Hawaii than maybe in this part of the world, which sees a lot more earthquakes. What's your sense? Is that something that is talked about a lot, with the public?
I would say that a lot of the people that, sorry, we have a siren going off now.
Okay, so just to clarify for our viewers, that's you getting, is that another tsunami warning you just got?
Yeah, so the message says siren sounding for tsunami threat 2 hours out from first wave arrival, estimated at 7:10 p.m. Evacuate coastal areas, and that was sent by the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency.
Well, that's Kelsey Shepherd speaking to my colleague Suranjana Tewari. Let's go to Japan now and speak to our correspondent there, Shaima Khalil. Shaima, just tell us the latest picture.
Well, dozens of waves have arrived in Japan. The highest we're getting from the Meteorological Agency now is over a meter high, and a meter and 30 centimeters, actually. And the message from the authorities is that the risk is far from over, that even though we've been getting these waves, tsunami waves that have been hitting the Pacific coast of Japan, that they could come as high as 3 meters. The Meteorological Agency held a press conference in the last couple of hours, and their message is tsunamis are still being observed. They can strike suddenly. Please do not leave safe places until the warning is lifted. And they also go on to say that when tsunami coincides with a high tide, there is a possibility that the water level will rise further than it currently is. And the blanket message for people across that Pacific coast, from Hokkaido in the north all the way down to Wakayama in the southwest, is that stay on high alert, evacuate beach areas, and stay on high ground. We've also been looking at footage on different channels here in Japan of people taking refuge on rooftops, for example, on buildings in Hokkaido. Some were in an observatory building overlooking the beach area on a high ground in Chiba, south of Tokyo. So people have been heeding those warnings. But of course, because of how big that Pacific area is, it will have affected nearly 2 million people who have been told to evacuate.
And Shaima, this must be triggering memories of 2011, the enormous earthquake and tsunami that hit particularly Fukushima nuclear plant. What are they doing there?
Yes, and look, Japan is no stranger to this. We get earthquake alerts almost on a daily basis, depending on the strength of any given earthquake. Tsunami alerts as well. This is quite a big one because of how big the earthquake is on Russia's Pacific coast and how shallow it is, and the effects of possible aftershocks. But I think when you speak about Fukushima, of course, this is a place of concern because of the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. We did hear from TEPCO earlier, which is the company that operates the plant, and they said that all workers in the Fukushima Daiichi power plant have been evacuated, but they also said that there have been no abnormalities reported from the power plant. But yes, of course, it's an area of concern because it's been hit by this nuclear meltdown in 2011, and there is still nuclear debris that's been constantly cooled by water, and then this water is stored in tanks, and so it's a really critical area, and so they want to be monitoring this as these waves keep coming to the east coast.
Shaima, thanks very much. Shaima Khalil, let's just bring you on update coming in from the Russian news agency about the size of the waves that are hitting that very far eastern part of Russia. Tsunami waves near the Russian Pacific town of Severo-Kurilsk have exceeded 3 meters in height, and the most powerful wave has reached up to 5 meters. Let's go over to another part of the Pacific, Australia and New Zealand. Let's talk to Katie Watson, our correspondent in Sydney. Katie, particular concern about New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. Here in Australia, they haven't issued any warnings or advisories, but an hour or so ago, they did issue an advisory in New Zealand, sending a message to everybody on their mobiles, saying that people needed to be very careful about coastal areas, warning them that both the North Island and the South Island were areas that may be affected. Now, the advisory said that it would be that surges could be expected around midnight local time, and that's so that's in about maybe 6 hours. And that, again, this is an advisory warning people who are on boats to leave the boats, people not to go swimming, to go surfing, and that this advisory would be in place until the advisory is cancelled.
And how used to are people there in New Zealand to being on alert for this sort of natural disaster potentially?
Well, New Zealand's no stranger to earthquakes. There is a system in place, clearly very organised, with more than 7 hours' notice. This advisory was sent to everybody on text message. In fact, as the message was sent, Parliament was debating a bill. They briefly paused to read the advisory to make sure everybody was up to date with what it said, and then carried on debating. So, people here are very used to warnings and advisories, and there's clearly a system in place. But this is, as I said, this is an advisory. This is they talk about the fact that this could happen. There is a threat, and it should be regarded as real until the advisory is cancelled.
OK, Katie, thanks very much. Katie Watson there reporting from Australia on the alert that has been in New Zealand. Let's go through what's been going on over the last few hours. Our news correspondent Aruna Younger in the studio with me. Aruna, just tell us when news first emerged of this and what has been happening since.
Yeah, so Karen, as you know, there was a huge magnitude earthquake which happened off the northeast coast of Russia. 8.8, which is it's huge. It's the 6th largest in history. So it gives you an idea of the magnitude of that. This happened 130 kilometres off Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky in northeastern Russia. It's a peninsula that runs down the east coast of Russia, and at that point it is on the Pacific Rim of Fire. It's a sort of ring right around the Pacific Ocean where earthquake activity often takes place.
That part of Russia is further east than Japan. It really does stretch that far.
That's right, and right up, it almost joins the top of North America. So we're talking right up there. In that particular region, the Russian port town of Severo-Kurilsk saw some of the largest waves, so 3 to 5 metre high waves. That port town was inundated. The population of 2,000 people were evacuated, were kind of told to move to higher ground. Videos that you can see of that on social media show water surging inland into the area.
Now, Aruna, yes.
That's right, and the electricity has been cut off in that area because the earthquake damaged the power grid in that area. A state of emergency has been declared in the northern Kuril Islands, which is part of that area in which Severo-Kurilsk is in. We've also been hearing, as you say, from other areas of the world which are surrounding this Pacific area, which is affected. So we've been hearing from Honolulu, Hawaii. Apparently there, the authorities say that a 1.8 metre wave has hit the Midway Atoll, which is an atoll between Japan and Hawaii. That's just come out in the last few minutes. We've been hearing about that. Also from Hawaii, the Coast Guard there says it's closed all harbours areas, and all vessels have been told to remain offshore. Also, flights have been diverted from Hawaii. We've also heard from Mexico. The government there has told people to avoid the Pacific beaches because of strong currents. In the Philippines and Indonesia, they've issued tsunami advisories. Advisories are a little bit less than a tsunami warning. Again, people have been told to avoid the shorelines. There's also been warnings of various levels in China, Guam, Peru, the Galapagos Islands off Ecuador. We've also heard just in the last few minutes from the mayor of Los Angeles. He's issued a tsunami watch, but that's now been upgraded to a tsunami advisory. Again, people told to stay in higher ground, stay away from the coast, because although the earthquake took place a few hours ago, it's the aftershocks, and in Russia there's been at least 30 aftershocks after this earthquake. So tsunami activity could take place. We've been hearing really it could go on for a month or so afterwards. So people are advised to take care.
That's extraordinary.
In coastal areas.
The risk doesn't go away completely for all that time. And Aruna, just the number of countries that you have described, east, west, north, south, this Pacific Ring of Fire, absolutely huge.
Yeah, it has a huge impact on a massive area of the world.
Aruna Younger, thank you very much.